this stuff happening, and it's happening really, really fast. I mean, if you're just kind of stepping into the fray, whether it's at the local level or at the state level or at the national level, the president and the folks that he has surrounded himself with, they're totally getting after it. There's no waiting. There's no nonsense. He made these promises to the American people, and he's delivering. And one of the most interesting aspects that you're going to see is how the Democrats, whether it's at the local level or at that state level or at the national level, are dealing with this because they don't quite know what to do. He won in a landslide. He won the popular vote. And it's obvious to them that the things that they thought were most important are not the things that resonated with the vast majority of Americans. Americans want a secure border. They want lower taxation. They want safer streets. They want common sense. They're not looking to get drugged down on all these ridiculous social issues that are basically polluting the minds of their children and hamstringing civilization. So when you look at this through the prism of the Democrats, it's got to be incredibly frustrating because right here at the local level, we've got the Democrats trying to quell people, if you will, us, their citizenry, on why they're not going to the state capitol. So right here at the local level, they're putting together boards of your local leadership. But your local leadership is kind of funny. It's not very diverse at all in color, scale, party affiliation. It is pretty much just a bunch of Democrats that have virtually zero diversity on these panels. And they are basically telling you things that are half-truths and things that you probably don't want to hear a whole lot about. So, for instance, you look at our mayor, Kim Norton. She's worried about Project 25 and how it's going to affect local immigration standards, okay? She's not worried about you, your family, the American citizen, the Minnesotan that is out there. She's worried about immigration and how she doesn't want any strings attached to any bills that are coming through for police funding. What could they attach to a bill that would stop it from being funded by the state or national level when you're looking to support the law? The people that hold that thin blue line. Well, it's real simple. When you step back and you look at it, the string she's talking about is she doesn't want anybody to work with ICE. She's not looking to have bills attached that would help fund law enforcement, but also help them work with ICE. Immigration and customs officials, okay? So that right there is ridiculous because there's two things here. ICE is not here to hurt the American citizen or the Minnesotan. They're here to protect. They're here to make sure that the people that are in your state came here legally and are not violent offenders. Now, the reason these Democrats are trying to make sure that these felons can stay here is beyond me. I don't understand it. Well, they'll say things like, well, they're also looking to go get people that are working at McDonald's. That's what Representative Hicks said. That is probably lowest on the totem pole for these folks. The folks that are out there trying to protect you and I are trying to make sure that the people that are violent offenders, people that in some instances have raped people, some of these people, believe it or not, have murdered people back in the countries that they came from. These are gang members, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, members that are in our community dealing fentanyl to our children and in some instances recruiting our children and hurting our children. I just lost a very good friend of mine to a drug overdose. So these are not good people and they have got to go. Why the Democrats are fighting so hard to keep these criminal illegal aliens in our country and in our cities and towns is beyond me. It makes no sense whatsoever. Why the hell would you want these people here? But the Democrats at the local level will say things like, we're going after people that are working at McDonald's that have false papers. Okay, a couple things. Number one, is our local leadership saying that it is okay to have false papers? Is it okay to go into a business here in Rochester that a Rochester person owns, has went through all of their bureaucratic nonsense and bullshit, all their red tape. They've done everything they can, and now they're looking for employees. They hire somebody, they're presented with false papers, and now guess what? It's their ass on the line too. So is our local leadership saying that it's okay to have false papers? And it's okay to be here illegally, just because you're not doing anything to hurt anybody at the time. Because now all of a sudden you're putting the local business owner out there, and you're putting that person that came here illegally out there, and you're saying that it's okay to falsify papers, and you're in leadership. And worse yet, you're in leadership that's not showing up to do your job. You're holding local panels, and you still want your paycheck. I guarantee you, these local lawmakers in all of these cities that are Democrats, if the governor stepped in and said, you will not be receiving your pay until you get your ass up here to St. Paul and you do the work of your constituents, you'd see an awful lot of these people lining up and marching to St. Paul to do the work of the people that they represent. But that's not it, okay? So the reality is our very own mayor doesn't want any attachments to these bills for funding law enforcement. And with that being said, it just makes the job rougher for our police officers. Who can they arrest? Who can't they arrest? Who can they question? If they find out that they're here illegally and they're a troublemaker, do they have the ability to talk with ICE? Well, according to our local leadership, no. No. And if you do so, that might lose your funding. See, these are the things that are ridiculous. And we're fighting with it all the time at the local level. Not small businesses that have no parking in front of their establishments because we planted trees there and put up all kinds of ridiculous things, or people like 2% of the population, and that might be high, with bike paths. We've got bike paths going all over the place now, taking up our roads. It's impossible to go downtown and not find it to be a gigantic hassle to find parking. So how are these little businesses downtown supposed to function if you can't even park outside of them? Well, of course, in an ideal world, for the 6 months you can ride a bike here, well, you'll have plenty of bike paths to go down. Every single step, whether it's red tape, bureaucracy, higher taxes, it makes it impossible for local small businesses to function. It makes it impossible for people to come into the town. And now they don't want to deal with the illegal immigrants at any level, whether they're criminal or not criminal. They're not worried about it. Listen, be nice. Let's just make this a sanctuary for everybody. Meanwhile, more homeless encampments are popping up. There's tents next to the rivers and in the parks. There's trash blowing all over the place. You got people sitting on the streets up against buildings because, that's what we're doing. We're compassionate. We're so compassionate. So when you hear all of these buzzwords and you see that your local leaders, which are not Republicans, they're not even independents, they're a bunch of Democrats that are refusing to do their job in St. Paul, so they're holding the forms. And they're bringing up things like Project 25, which, by the way, Project 2025 has nothing to do with the president, okay? The Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank, that was their thing. But the Democrats keep trying to attach it to President Trump because they're looking for anything they can find to drag him down. Kim Norton is out there saying that she doesn't want any of these things, and our representatives are out there saying the exact same things. The reality is this. Nobody is against immigration here at the local level, state level, or the national level, at least anybody that I know of. We just ask that you come here legally. There's a process. Even the playground has to have rules. So here at the local level, it looks like our leadership and our brain trusts are saying that they don't want ICE in our town. And, when you think about that, does that not make this town a magnet for people that are here illegally and our troublemakers? If they know that your leadership is not going to support ICE, that puts you at danger, puts me at danger, and puts us all at danger. Now, at the state level, the Democrats still refuse to go to St. Paul, and they don't want anything to do with any of this. They're just staying away from it because they don't have the power anymore. Now, the Senate, they got power. They still, God forbid, have power in the gubernatorial mansion, but they don't have power in the House. So what they want to do is they want to negotiate with the Republicans, and they want to have a power-sharing structure. Okay. Boo friggin' who. If you guys remember, and this is where irony just gets you so good, 2.5 years ago, when they had all three branches of the government here, they had the Senate, they had the gubernatorial mansion, and they had the House. They basically told Republicans to sit down. We've got this. And we got abortion up to 9 months for any reason. You can get rid of that child. Having a bad day and you're getting ready to have a baby, don't want it? 9 months. No restrictions. And there were Democrats actually crying on the House and Senate floors that were voting for that because they knew it was just disgusting. But they did it anyway because Democrats have a really good way of kind of sticking together and fighting through things, whether it's by hook or by crook. They're going to make things happen. Taxes, no tax cuts, taxes through the roof, burn through 18 to 19 billion dollars of a surplus. It's gone. That was all our money, and they added $10 billion to that in legacy spending that we have to now cover. These are the things that the Democrats did. More red tape, more obstruction, less safe streets. Homelessness is blowing up everywhere. Minneapolis, St. Paul, burned to the ground. Many of those businesses gone to never reopen because people are scared. It's a shell of what it once was. So they had control, and they took this state and they drove it right into the shitter. They drove it right into the crapper. Didn't have any input from the Republicans. Every time a Republican senator or Republican representative spoke up, they said, we got this. We've got this. Well, the United States, in a landslide, changed directions. Minnesota, very close in the state of Minnesota, nonetheless the Democrats won, but they're still going straight forward with that agenda. The problem is most people here in Rochester, we're very blessed. We live in a very affluent town. A lot of people in this town make $90,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year. They work the clinic. They're not hurting. We don't make that kind of money here in my family. We're hurting. So when you raise my property tax $500, $600, $800, it hurts us. Okay? The state level, when you start raising state taxes, income taxes, property taxes, you name it, it hurts everybody. The elderly, people living on fixed incomes, but they just rammed it all through. So as far as power sharing goes, if I'm being completely honest, I'm so thankful the Democrats aren't going to St. Paul because they can't screw things up anymore. They can't destroy this republic anymore if they don't have their hands in the pot. So I'm thankful for that. I'm so thankful that they're not there, but they still have a job to do. And just because the Republicans refuse to power share with them, they need to suck it up and go do their jobs, just like we did for the last 36 months when they were ramming everything through. We couldn't stop it. Nothing to be said. And they took zero input from Republicans. Dwayne Quam, Colin Nelson, it didn't matter. They had nothing to, we've got it. It's under control. But now they want a piece. They want to say, well, we should share power. I got to be honest with you. As a Republican, I would say, nah, man, go pound sand. I appreciate it. But the way you treated us, well, unfortunately, we're not going to treat you like that, but we're not going to power share. We've got a job to do, and we're going to do it. And if you don't want to come up here to St. Paul, we will at least do the things that we can do to represent the constituents of this state. And I get news for you. There's a lot of farmers out there. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of citizens out there that expect their Democratic lawmakers to get their ass up to St. Paul and do their job. Instead of having these little round tables where they're all just sitting around circle jerking and having a good time, the reality is they need to be in St. Paul doing things for us, their constituents. These little roundtable meetings and everything they're having, it's kind of an insult because they're supposed to be up there making our lives better. And they're basically trying to figure out how to make our lives less safe by fighting with ICE, refusing to go up to the state capitol and do their job. So not only are we screwed at the local level here, it looks like at the state level, things aren't going to get much better because they're digging in. The Republicans are digging in. And I don't blame the Republicans for digging in because they shouldn't have to deal with this nonsense. Cheating at the voting booth, people being elected in districts they're not even living in. Then they get called out on it. The solidarity forums, the Democrats are going to stand united and they want shared power. No. You don't get to cheat. You don't get to get caught and then pretend it never happened and then insist that the Republicans help you help them. That's not the way it works. And lastly, at the national level, there are so many things happening so fast. And for me as a citizen here of this amazing republic, it's astonishing to have somebody that goes into office and literally on hour one, not day one, hour one, you might even be able to say minute one, started doing exactly what they promised. They're going to secure the border. They're already building the border wall. He's been in office 6 days. The border wall is being reconstructed as we speak. It's being locked down. We're sending National Guard to the border to help with the Border Patrol to seize, stop, and basically eliminate this ridiculous flow of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs and narcotics across our border. The basic marking of terrorist status of the cartels, that's gigantic. That gives us the ability to actively go in, pinpoint, and destroy and eliminate the areas where these drugs, fentanyl, all these illegal narcotics that are coming in and killing our citizenry. We now have the ability to go in and attack them head on. And trust me, the United States military, you don't want to mess with them. The technology, the things that we can do, that's going to help amazing steps in the right direction to seize, stop, and secure that southern border. It's never going to be perfect, but we can cut it down by 95%, and that helps local law enforcement deal with things, and they're not dealing with these gigantic problems. Now they've got the opportunity to actually enforce law enforcement here at the local level, and because of the numbers going way, way down, they can get back on top of it. So that's a blessing in disguise. The president is already talking to nations and shipping these criminal illegals back. Colombia said they don't want them. Guess what? Today, they're going to take him, and the president of Colombia is actually sending his own plane to repatriate those Colombians. Mexico, stay in Mexico, remain in Mexico. That's happening right now. They're building shelters on the Mexican side of the border, so they're going to be able to house these people that are going back there before they get sent back to their nations. Remember, asylum isn't pick wherever you want to go and that's where you go. Asylum is the first nation that has a stable government that you can go to. Mexico. 90% of the people that are here illegally should not even be here. They should be in Mexico under asylum laws. And here's another neat thing. All of these people, these Democrats that are crying and bitching and complaining about ICE doing their jobs and the deportation, they have themselves to blame for this. The last administration, Kamala and Biden, they did this. Millions and millions, anywhere from 11 to 15 million people came here. They were not all rightfully vetted and vetted in a good fashion. Many of them were criminals, terrorists, and we're catching them all right now. And when the president says that they were dumping their prisons here, you bet your ass they were, because they're not stupid. I would do the same thing. Get rid of the worst part of your society and dump them somewhere else. Then you don't got to support them, you don't got to pay for them, and you don't got to deal with them. So now we're stuck with them, and our cops are getting destroyed by them. People are being killed by their ignorance from the left, just saying, let them all in. So now they're going home. And of course they don't want them back, but they don't have a choice. They're going back. Tariffs. Well, you know what? If we're being taken advantage of, we're going to have these tariffs go out there in China and Russia, and the people in the Middle East are going to have to start dealing with this. Canada, Mexico, it's just got to be fair. And that's all we're saying. The Abraham Accords are going to fire back up. Okay, we're already starting to get the hostages out, and Hamas is taking them back. And as Iran runs out of money and it dries up, they're not going to be able to help Hezbollah. They won't be able to fund Hamas. They're not going to have extra money to do that. And that makes the whole region safer. There is peace through strength, and we've got that now. All right, 6 days in, the amount of change that we've already seen right here in this republic and around the globe is unparalleled. It's never been seen like this before. If you're a law provider, a peace officer, you should be so thankful you're allowed to do your job. If you're an American citizen, a small business owner, you should be above thankful. You should be beyond it, because you now have the ability to see your streets get safer. And hopefully the regulations at the state, local, and national level will go down, and your energy prices are going to start to come down, because we are going to, quote unquote, drill, baby, drill. And when it costs less to get a product from point A to point B, those savings can be traded out and put directly back into your pocket. But it's also going to make every dollar in your pocket more valuable. It gives it more power. It'll be able to buy more. So even if the prices don't dramatically come down on eggs and butter and milk, if the price doesn't come all the way down to where you want it, because that's going to be the next big thing, guys. Right? Well, the prices aren't coming down. Well, a lot of these companies have got you numb to these prices, but if the value of each dollar in your pocket goes up and it can buy more, that's also a reduction in pricing. It's not rocket science. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I get that. But if $5 is worth $5 and not $4.50 because we've devalued it, it's going to buy more. So there's so many great things happening right now. And the Democrats, do not kid yourself, they are looking very hard in between the cracks to say, hey, we've got to attack this. We can't let this go on. Chuck Schumer's already out there belly aching and crying. You got CBS Evening News when they're doing their shows. They're trying to figure out how they can pick things apart. I watched the vice president just dismantle a reporter the other day, and it was embarrassing. It was like every question they had was a third grade question, a nana boo boo question, and J.D. Vance just dissected it, answered it, and moved on. And serious leadership generally doesn't come from the left. The fires in California, there was no leadership there. Hell, in Florida, when a hurricane's bearing down on the state, Governor DeSantis is loading the provisions in places where they feel safe, and they're ready to attack it the first moment the storm is gone. Preemptive action. California, they don't have any water in the reservoirs. They're pumping it all out into the sea, not fixing their fire trucks. They're cutting the budget for these poor fire departments. I mean, it's amazing. And yet the mayor and the governor, they're not going to resign. They think they're doing a good job. So I think all these recall efforts that are happening against the left are 100% warranted, whether it's at the local level here, at the state level, or at the national level. Get these people the hell out of positions of power. They're not serious people. They don't know what the hell they're doing. You wouldn't let them coach your kid's soccer team, but they're running entire cities. And the beautiful thing is, and the sad thing, all at the same time, they're running those places into the ground. Don't fall for it. The things that are happening are very good things. We're all going into this storm together. And if you stick together, when we come out, we're going to be in a lot better place. Now, guys, listen, like, subscribe, follow, share, and let's get as many people to become part of the herd as possible. This is Into the Storm. I'm Ken Nowitzki. Whether it's local, state, or national news, man, we're going to pick some of the topics out and we're going to talk about it at least once a week, maybe more. But on YouTube, Into the Storm with Ken Nowitzki, or you can just stay right here on my Facebook page, Ken Nowitzki for MN House, and we're going to work on getting that name changed out. But there's a lot of really positive things happening. And you and your family should rejoice in the fact that we have serious leadership that is no longer going to put you and the other citizens behind all of the things that should be priority. You will be lifted up. Your families will be safer. You will become much more able to pay your bills and have a little bit of money in your pocket, God forbid, because serious people are now back in charge and they're not out here virtue signaling. They're doing the heavy lifting. I love you guys. God bless you guys and your families. Into the Storm with Ken Nowitzki. I'll see you guys again real soon.